Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by Jen Anderson. Jen is the Director of B2B Marketing at RentPath. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. We're going to be talking about not only building and leading a high-performance team. I think this is a subject that our listeners across the board are going to get value out of. But before we get into today's topic, maybe you can tell us a little about what you and the RentPath team are up to these days.
Sure. So for those of you that don't know what RentPath is a digital marketing solutions and information provider to the rentals housing market. So we own 5 consumer-facing websites, apartmentguide.com, rent.com, rentals.com, livelovely, and rentalhouses.com. And consumers use those sites to find their next rental home. We monetize access to that consumer audience through digital advertising, different communication tools, lead management, things of that nature to property management companies across the country. So we're a $250 million business. We're the leader in our vertical today. And we operate throughout the entire lead to lease sales cycle. Just to give the audience a little bit of context, we recently went through some restructuring when we had our new CEO join us. Mark Lafarge joined us last April, and he came from Vonage. He was the former CEO there. Mark has a background as a CMO. He was the CMO at Singular Wireless, and he helped launch the iPhone with Steve Jobs. So when he joined our company, he did a lot of analysis to understand where we were really strong, where there was opportunity for improvement. And one of the key changes that he made late last year was to restructure marketing and product. So we broke out marketing into 2 groups, consumer and B2B. And we also broke out several different teams in B2B product as well as consumer product. So on the B2B side, my team reports to the head of B2B. There are 7 departments that report up to him, and B2B marketing is one of them. And I joined the team. I was formerly managing a digital marketing team, so I consolidated my team with the broader B2B marketing team and restructured it in December. We started in December.
That's fantastic. I mean, your resume certainly sort of speaks for itself. I mean, you're obviously someone we want to have come on the show and talk to us about B2B marketing. And today, specifically, building and leading a high performance team, which I think is fantastic because we do have a lot of guests that come on and they have a lot of incredible insight into the world of B2B marketing and things that the executives in our audience can be doing specifically for their company. But I'm excited to talk about, okay, well, what else can you do specifically that is sort of team oriented? So Jen, I'm going to kind of let you take it away. I mean, one of the first points that you were going to be making today was actually structuring for success. So what does that mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they think about, okay, what do we need to do to incentivize performance, they go right to culture and they go right to, hiring. But the reality is that you can hire the best people, but if you don't have the structure in place for those people to be successful, you'll still fail. So the first thing that I did when I took the B2B team over was I looked at how are we structured today and what's working and what's not working. And what I noticed, which is true of a lot of marketing orgs today, is that we were structured around channel. So we had somebody dedicated to PR, another person dedicated to email, another person focused on social. And that really led to a lot of silos where the team was running into each other rather than working alongside each other to accomplish their overall goals. So what I did was I looked at what's our actual marketing process that we go through to operationalize marketing and really drive demand. And then I structured the team around that. And so we created 3 core pillars: demand generation, marketing operations and analytics, and customer experience. And each of those teams is responsible for a part of the marketing process that we use to engage prospective buyers and operationalize messaging across channels to those buyers, as well as ensure adoption and retention post-sale. So structuring in that manner really allows for each person on the team to be part of the broader initiatives that we're pursuing as a team, but also allows them to really grow their competency T, where they're specialized and deep in a particular area, but still work broadly across various teams. And it also ensures that we're thinking about marketing from an audience-centric perspective so that each initiative is effective at achieving our core objectives.
Yeah. I mean, it's a unique approach, and it sounds certainly very effective. And you've also mentioned competency. Developing competency is actually sort of number 2 in our interview today about building and leading a high performance team. So can we delve into developing that competency a little bit more?
Absolutely. So one of the other things that I did once I structured the team around marketing process was I looked at each person that existed on the team and evaluated where are they really strong, where do they have opportunity to grow and become stronger in specific areas, and what skills do they have that really would position them well for some things, but not for others. And once I evaluated that, I moved people into roles where they had an opportunity to pursue that T and continue to grow that specialization, but also stretch and grow in other areas. So once I put everybody into those roles, I also evaluated where do we have gaps on the team, and then I began to pull in people that would help round out the skills in the team. So for example, how this actually works is we have on our demand generation team, we have somebody who's really skilled in campaign development. So she leads a lot of our campaign initiatives, but she also works with other members on the team to develop core content and sales collateral so that she can further develop in those areas. And then I have another person on the team who comes from sales. So she's fantastic at thinking about, okay, if I'm a salesperson and I'm sitting in front of a client or a prospect, how am I pitching this? And so she's great at developing the right sales collateral for the end stage buyer journey. But because of that perspective, she's also really instrumental in helping us develop our campaign strategy and our core messaging so that it's effective in the early stages of the buyer journey as well. And that helps us better align marketing with sales. And so each of the teams has this mix of different skills and competencies, and we've appropriately put people in the roles where they can really flourish and grow.
Yeah, no, it does sound organizationally as if you're talking about getting people out of a silo and sort of aligning those efforts. So it seems to be very successful with the sort of organization that you have going on. And point number 3 was this idea of organization and project management. So I'd love to know kind of how that also sort of differs from structuring for success, the first point that we talked about.
Yeah. So once you've got this sort of structure in place, I think it's easy to sort of forget, well, someone still has to be looking at the holistic big picture, right? And so I'm certainly looking at that, but it's also important for there to be defined process and handoff across each of these teams, both within marketing, but also broadly across the company. And this is particularly true for RentPath. We're working with a lot of different teams within the company. We're sort of the intersection. So we're working with consumer marketing and consumer product teams, as well as B2B product teams, sales operations, IT, and 350 salespeople. So it's really important for us to make sure that we've got strong handoff and organization to manage these different cross-functional initiatives. So one of the people that we have on the team that sits sort of outside of the 3 pillars is our marketing project manager. And she's really responsible for ensuring that as we move forward with different initiatives, whether they're small, medium, or large in scope, that we've got a very structured approach to each initiative, that there's a project plan in place, that we have people who are assigned as responsible and accountable, that we have firm deliverables in place, and that there are dashboards in place for everyone, whether they're inside marketing or outside of marketing, that they can see exactly where we are in each project, what's been complete, what's still in progress, and whether or not we're hitting the deadlines that we have on each of those initiatives. We also, the project manager is also responsible for facilitating biweekly scrums, which are sort of all hands meetings. And this person, she leads the team through, okay, looking at our projects, let's not talk about everything that's in green. Let's talk about everything that's at risk in yellow and what's driving that risk. And let's talk about everything that's in red. What's a blocker? And this gives the team an opportunity to not only collaborate across the different pillars within marketing, but also with the broader project teams. And it gives everybody the opportunity to provide input and help us move things forward. It also ensures that we're not doing duplicative work. So one of the things that we were doing when we were structured around channel was a lot of people were doing a lot of the same things and didn't even realize it. So having these sort of scrums gives us visibility into what everyone is doing and how they're all contributing to the overall team as well as the company objectives. And because the project plans are visible to everyone, including our leadership team, everyone is aware of what's happening and who's responsible for it, which really dovetails into our next topic of transparency and accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want, I mean, you're talking about visibility, and I want to get into this point number 4 of transparency. Can I ask really, really quick then, Jen, when you do have these bi-weekly scrums, are there a few key pieces of advice you have for making these something that your team looks forward to rather than dreading, rather than feeling like, you know what, we're just having another meeting, we're just wasting time? I mean, do you do a couple of key things that sort of keeps it pointed, focused, and valuable?
Absolutely. So we go through the actual project dashboard. So every project has a dashboard with a roll-up view of what's happening this week. And so we try to make sure that it's very structured. Everybody in the room is supposed to just focus on a few key points. Something that they accomplished, which it's an opportunity for everyone to recognize each other, as well as focusing on the yellow and the red, at risk and the blockers. When you keep things very pointed and keep things focused on just what are the high level points that we need to really address in this meeting, it keeps it moving. So our scrums are only 30 minutes. And a lot of times we have more than 10 people in these scrums. And so everybody has to be super disciplined with just keeping it moving. It's not an opportunity for everyone to sort of bloviate, but we keep it very much on track and focus on the key things that we all need to do to move forward for the week. We also meet twice a week. So in the beginning of the week and a little bit later in the week ensures that not only do we know what we're supposed to be accomplishing this week, but then we also at the end of the week make sure that everything we talked about earlier in that week actually did get accomplished. And if it didn't get accomplished, it's an opportunity for us to ask why and what we need from the team to make sure that we can move it forward.
Gotcha. Also, bloviate, great word. I love the fact that you used that word. Very underutilized. Let's talk about point number 4. Let's talk about transparency and accountability.
Yes. So having these project plans in place, it really gives us transparency into what every single person on the team is doing. It also gives us visibility, particularly me and the leadership team, visibility into resource allocation. And what I've found is that people who are A players, particularly people who are driven by performance and results, they want to know that their hard work is not only being recognized, but that they're not the only ones working, right? And so having accountability and transparency in place is really important. I would argue probably two of the key components of being a performance-driven team is offering those people transparency and accountability. So when you have these scrums, when you have this type of structure where everyone has visibility into what their colleagues are doing, they see how everyone is contributing value. They see how everyone is allocated, and it develops a culture of trust and respect. It also empowers accountability. So if someone isn't delivering on what their commitments are to the team, there's no hiding from it. The tasks are in red. and they're past due. And so when you have that level of visibility and everyone is looking at the same information, everyone is held to the same standards of excellence. I would also say that it's important for, I think, leaders to really hold people accountable. You can't say that you have a performance-driven team or that you're focused on performance if you're not willing to make the hard decisions. So there are times when you're going to have people on the team that are just not pulling their weight. And as a leader, you really have to make the hard decision. Can I scale this person up? Do they have the will? If they don't have the will, then there really isn't anything you can do. In my opinion, there isn't anything you can do about that. I can help scale someone up, but they have to bring the will for drive and the will to actually do the work. That's not something that I can teach someone. That's something that I expect people to bring to the job. And I have to be willing, just like every other leader has to be willing to hold those people accountable. There certainly needs to be an opportunity for improvement, but when someone isn't performing, you must hold that person accountable and make the hard decision to let them go. Because otherwise, keeping people on the team who operate at a level of mediocrity, all you're doing is eroding trust, you're eroding morale, and ultimately you crush strong performance because your high players, your A players are going to say, why am I working so hard when I'm being held to higher standards than this person over here who seems to be getting away with it? So it's really important to not only say that you're holding people accountable, but actually pull the trigger and do it.
It feels like I've heard more and more people talk about this idea of sort of accountability for marketing as a whole, as a team, sort of tracking the marketing metrics, being able to measure marketing success versus just, sales, obviously easy to measure, marketing a little bit tougher, but as sort of new tools become available, I've noticed that there's more of this push to accountability for the marketing team as a whole. But it's interesting to hear it, even internally, the accountability and the standardization internally for your marketing team. So that's great. Point number 5, and I think you've already started to touch on this, is the idea of recognition and sort of incentivizing increased performance.
Yep, absolutely. So I personally worked in several environments where this was not done. And in fact, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I did differently when I started to grow this team was to make sure that when we do have A players, that we're moving them forward, that we're not losing them because everybody is treated the same. So it's one thing to talk about incentivizing performance, is another thing to actually grow people. And I don't see a lot of leaders really focus on this. And I think it's unfortunate because people will grow frustrated. They want, particularly A players, people who are very performance driven, they want to know that what they're doing is making an impact. And so if you're not focused on empowering those people and advancing them, you're going to lose them. So one of the things that I've done is I've really thought about what are some of the different ways that we can incentivize performance, both from a verbal recognition standpoint all the way through to actually advancing people. So the first one that's pretty simple, I think, is providing verbal recognition in front of the team, not just the marketing team, but the division meetings that we hold quarterly, as well as in front of senior leadership. Whenever I have the opportunity to call out someone on the team for exceptional performance in front of our leadership team, I do it. And it's important for that, for anyone who's got that visibility into senior leadership to acknowledge the hard work of the people on their team. A lot of these people don't necessarily interact with senior leadership on a day-to-day basis, so they don't necessarily have exposure. But it's also important for your senior leaders to know what people are contributing in the company. So I'm very careful to give credit to the people who are doing the actual work and reward them with that recognition and that praise at a leadership level. And this helps build collaboration and appreciation into your team culture when people are recognized not only by their leaders, but also by their peers. they feel appreciated, and it's motivating. It helps them continue to want to come into work every day, to feel part of a bigger initiative, something that's bigger than themselves, bigger than the day-to-day grind. The other thing that we started to do is implement non-pay incentives. So things like extra time off. We work from home every Tuesday, but we've also offered additional remote working days when people go above and beyond. I offer happy hours and team events. I also use different gifts to reward exceptional performance. And I think it's just important for managers and leaders to say thank you. It's yes, somebody's doing their job when they hit it out of the park, but when somebody hits it out of the park and they go above and beyond, sometimes you need more than just a thank you. A verbal thank you isn't enough sometimes, especially when you're pushing through a major initiative and people are in the office until 11 o'clock trying to get, deadlines hit. It's nice to say thank you and then also say, hey, by the way, take a day off. And so we've really leveraged that within our team. And I think the last point is advancement. So I don't know why this is so uncommon, but I have seen it particularly in mid-market, larger businesses. There's this perspective that everyone should just get a 3% raise. And I don't believe in that at all. I believe in playing favorites, and not playing favorites based on, I like this person. That doesn't matter. What matters is somebody going above and beyond? Are they contributing exceptional value? And if they are, you must reward that. And so I don't believe in giving everyone the same advancement, the same performance pay increase. I think that all that does is incentivize mediocrity. So I also believe that there is no reason why you can't find a way to give someone an advancement of title, an advancement of pay, as well as an advancement of scope of responsibility. Yes, it means that somebody else on the team may not get 3%. They may get 1%. They may get 0%. But if you have somebody who's a rock star performer, they do deserve more. And so it's important for that perspective to be applied to compensation and advancement. Everybody on my team, I have an idea of where they want to grow. Some of them are a little bit more articulate and thoughtful about that than others. But I'm always looking at, even if they haven't articulated specifically where they know they want to go, I have already in my mind an idea of how I can further leverage them in a more senior role. So I'm always looking at how I can grow the people on my team, make sure that they're continuously advancing. And so I'm keeping the people that I need. I mean, at the end of the day, the Atlanta job market is competitive right now. So it's easy to lose good people. There's a lot of offers out there. I personally get contacted by recruiters on a regular basis. So if you're not proactively looking at, okay, who are my top performers? Are they challenged? Are they growing? Are they advancing? You will lose them.
Yeah, I love how deliberate and thoughtful you are, sort of when it comes to managing the team, recognizing those all-star performers that you have. It's not an easy thing. It's so much easier to just, like you said, say, well, everyone gets 3% this year. You've all worked very hard, but takes a lot more time and effort to sort of be deliberate about, okay, let's think about what we're trying to accomplish, who's helping us get that done. And I think that kind of, in a way definitely relates to point number 6, having a clear mission. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I think this is really important, and it's a small thing that can have such a huge impact. So, as somebody who is also driven by performance, I 100% want to know what I'm working towards, right? I need to have a clear mission in front of me. And so I think if you have really strong performers on your team, it's important that you document what it is that they're working towards, so that they have clear goals in mind. So there should be no confusion on your team, what the mission is, what the core values are, what your core objectives are. My team recently went through an exercise of actually drafting a formalized team mission statement, documenting our core values and outlining each of our objectives. And each person had a part in that process. And so what happened was, every single one of them had an opportunity to ensure that their voices were represented in that documentation. And in doing that, we gained buy-in. What are we actually here to do? Are we all clear on that mission? What are our actual core values, right? And performance and hustle were at the top of our values list, along with accountability. We had a team meeting. We drafted this together. We formalized it, and then we actually shared it out with others in the company. And it's been incredibly empowering, I think, for the team, because we've created sort of a unified team identity, but it's also really helped guide our interview process when we're bringing people onto the team. So it's helped us remain focused on what's important, as well as who are the people that we need to make sure that we're bringing in to accomplish those specific objectives.
Point number 7, radical candor. Let's talk about it real quick.
Yeah, so I am a firm believer in direct communication. There's just no time for passive aggressiveness or team conflict. And you'll always have moments of conflict, but it's how you address them that really can make or break your team. So my team, we all challenge each other directly. I encourage it. I expect it. Every single person, when we're debating different ideas, is expected to participate. And if they disagree with something that we're pursuing, or an idea or a strategy, it's up to them to articulate that during those discussions. If they don't articulate it, then they are buying into the solution that comes out the other end, and they're responsible and accountable for helping the team implement it. So I think that there's an incentive there for them to voice their opinions up front so that they have buy-in later on. I think it's really important for us to all just be very direct about that. It's also important that we're communicating with one another when there's a failure. So nobody is perfect. We're in a kind of a transformation period over at RentPath, where we're growing really fast and we're bringing in a lot of amazing talent, and we're growing out marketing and product substantially. But with that comes the challenge of managing that transformation. And so there are going to be moments of failure, moments when things get dropped, when a deadline is missed. And in those moments of failure, it's really important for the team to challenge why. Sometimes it's because of an organization issue. Sometimes it's because of a competency issue. But it's important for all of us to challenge why those failures occurred, challenge directly, and in doing so, put it behind us. We challenge, we get to the heart of what's going on, we solution for it, and we move on. And I think that has really helped cultivate a strong team. Our team, because of that, there's no pettiness, there's no backstabbing, it's not competitive in the sense that people are competing with each other. We're competitive in the sense that we want to win as a company, right? And so when we're all clear about where we stand with each other, there's no misunderstanding. And I think that's really important, is transparency and being radically candid with each other really allows for people to feel comfortable. Like if there's something wrong, someone will tell me. If I'm not meeting performance goals, or if I'm not following through on my commitments, my teammates will challenge me on that. And so I think that has been a huge benefit for us and has really helped us move the team forward.
And you haven't had to send anyone to the RentPath Thunderdome, where sort of two marketers enter, one marketer leaves. That sounds like a healthier choice that you're making.
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, the team we all get along so well. We all have a really healthy respect for one another. I mean, I think just being direct with one another, it's created mutual respect, which has been very important for us.
Well, Jen, we're coming down the home stretch. Point number 8, of the steps to building and leading a high performance team: professional development. Let's unpack that really quick.
Yeah. So, I mean, marketing is constantly evolving, right? Just the rate of digital innovation is enough to warrant a training budget in your broader marketing budget. And if you want to not only bring A players in, but continue to keep them, you have to continue to challenge them. So, I have actually looked at ways that I can invest in my team's growth. We leverage online trainings as well as college courses. We go to Serious Decisions and Dreamforce and different conferences throughout the year. Not everyone, but the people who it makes the most sense for them to go. We also do in-market field trips. So we have a considerably large sales team out in the field, and every market is slightly different. And so it's really important that every single marketer on our team understands what sales is facing in all of those different markets. And so throughout the year, we have a budget for everyone on the team to go out into the field to join client meetings, to join prospect meetings, and get a feel for what sales is facing so that we can better articulate in our messaging and our campaigns things that will help move the needle for them. And so I've also encouraged my team that if they feel like they're weak in a specific area or they just want to learn something new to grow, I encourage them to pursue that training. So I've actually set aside training budget, which I plan to actually increase going into 2018, just to ensure that my team is constantly moving forward and not becoming static, which I think is a challenge in today's digitally driven world.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Jen, this has been, I think, some tremendous content. This is definitely one of our longer episodes, but I think it's perfect because everything that you were talking about makes a lot of sense. It was very well put together, very deliberate, great actionable pieces of advice for our listeners. And if any of our listeners are interested in following up, finding out more about, what they can do to build and lead a high-performance team, they want to find out more about RentPath, they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn is Jennifer Anderson Alonzi, and Alonzi is my married name. And you can also reach me at jenniferanderson@rentpath.com.
Perfect. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
If you've been getting value from this podcast, you can help us reach more people by reviewing the show on iTunes. Here's how you can leave a review in less than a minute. Open your podcast app and tap the search icon in the bottom right corner. Type in B2B Growth, then select our show. Once you're there, tap the Reviews tab and tell us what you think of the show. These reviews help us out a ton.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.